Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Dr. Don St. John, a psychotherapist, teacher, and author who has been immersed in the psychological, somatic, did I pronounce that right? Somatic?
Yes, somatic.
Somatic, relational, and spiritual worlds for more than 50 years. Dr. St. John has a unique perspective on healing and human potential, having constructed a view which includes four essential and interrelated components: the somatic, which is the body, the psycho, emotional, the relational, and the spiritual. Dr. Don, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
I'm really good, and it's my pleasure to be here, Will. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I've done many podcast guest appearances, and dating has not yet been the subject, but I do love talking about it. So let's go.
Well, I think it's a good one because we have a good topic: role awareness to self-awareness. To me,
Yes.
in a relationship, which I like. So, Dr. Don, tell us a little bit about yourself. What was that journey like? You have a book out, which we're going to talk about, but what was that journey like for you to, to become a psychotherapist, teacher, author? What was that aha moment that got you here to today?
That aha moment occurred in my candidate from my
Okay.
perspective. And I was drinking heavily and realized I needed help. And so I found a psychiatrist who worked on the weekends, Saturday, and that was in 1964 or 5, and it began a journey that's lasted until this moment as we speak.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So I wanted to touch base back a little bit because you went through a phase of drinking, and so what drove you there? Was it relationship trauma, or uh, was it some
It
past hurt?
was
Yeah, go ahead,
it,
doctor.
it was it was about 15, 18 years of emotional and physical abuse in my
Oh,
family.
geez. Wow.
And it was complex. It wasn't simple nastiness. There was a great deal of love between me and my mother, but she was terrifying. She would lose control of herself, and vile stuff would come out of her mouth, and her fist would come swinging, and often with wooden spoons, with shoes. So, you know, let's put it this way. In the arena of relationships, I entered adulthood quite retarded, quite, just no capacities.
Right.
And I had to learn. And fortunately, I dedicated most of my life since to learning. And here I am.
Yeah, no, again, my God, that's some journey for you, and people can learn from this. And today's topic, I wanted to talk about role awareness and self-awareness. So, Dr. Don, if you could talk more about that. I've seen now in relationships, it seems that it's more of a competing together instead of I don't know if you could say, or if it's allowed to be said, a role in a relationship, because it seems that both sexes are just competing with each other all the time. And this is what I'm seeing online. I'm seeing that women want certain things from men. Men are, in some cases, are pretty simple. So, Dr. Don, have you seen the same thing I'm seeing, or
Yes,
yeah, go ahead,
yes,
please.
yes. Uh, here's This is probably the most important thing to understand about relationships at this time. We are going through a transition that, may take 100, 200 years before it settles, if it does, but it's going to take a long time because for centuries, you know, uh, that topic was the very first public speech I ever gave back in 1971, 2. at role awareness to self-awareness.
Mhm.
When my grandparents got together and they did whatever courtship ritual that they did and agreed to get married, that was it in terms of, you know, dialogue about the quality of their relationship, about the quality of their intimacy, about who was going to do what, when, where, about the quality of their communication. Okay?
Yeah.
None of that was in their conversation.
Mm.
You see? And that's probably true for the overwhelming majority of people in their generation going back, I don't know how many, hundreds of years. I don't know the history of that, but I do know it's a long, long time. And then starting in, around the 60s, well, you could trace it back even farther, but there's been this transition where those roles, as a result of economic conditions, as a result of social conditions, as a result of an increase of comprehension of who, what human beings are, those prescribed and clearly demarcated roles simply don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
For example, I have a young client, a man in his middle 30s, and he takes care of the children. He has 3 children, an infant and 2 toddlers, 4, 5, 6 years old, and he's the one who stays home and takes care of them and does all that. His wife is a high-powered attorney, you know,
Wow.
and it works for him. Now, back in my grandfather's days, that would be very rare if existed at all. And
Yeah.
I think people have to realize that. And one of the things that for me, derives out of that is the need for and the importance of compassion as we're in this transition to not be so hard on ourselves. The rule books are gone and we kind of have to figure it out. And from there, I do have some orientation, some advice about how to proceed. But that's a starting point. The
Yeah.
necessity of bringing a quality of compassion towards yourself and others.
You touch base on how it seems that some roles are reversed now, right? Where the wife is the high powered attorney, the man is staying home. I know of another couple that is same where he's home, he does, pretty much the cleaning, the cooking, and all that, and she's working and all that. Um, I think you hit it right on the head, Doctor Don. That I know when my grandfather, the roles were clearly defined, and now I'm seeing where some women, if they make a certain amount of money, they want the man to make that certain amount or even more. They want some women don't even want a man to have a 9 to 5. They want them to be an entrepreneur. So if in a moment's notice they could just fly off to Paris or whatever. It seems like it's changed, and I hate to say it, but it's true. It seems like it's changed more to the women's side, because it seems they go. What I read, they're getting educated more. They're going to college, where men are even either they're dropping out, or just not going to college at all. Again, Doc, is that something that we have to get used to now?
I think often when an established pattern changes,
Yeah.
there's an overshift to the other side. And I think that's what we're seeing
Mm,
as women are stepping into these professional roles, to the executive roles, to Congress and the Supreme Court and as they're doing that, they're also maintaining their capacity to give birth and raise children.
Yeah.
And it's like the men are not sure where to put their feet. They're not quite sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that you may be picking up. Uh, Overall, I don't think it's a bad thing. Overall, there's that shifting is going to eventually arrive at a new equilibrium where there's see here's let's get to what's most important here,
Okay.
and that is to achieve a relationship where we have two forces very apparently contradictory
Mhm.
but not, two forces engaged. One is personal freedom, a sense of inner freedom, autonomy. I'm free to make my own choices. You know, I'm free, I'm autonomous.
Right.
The other dynamic is closeness, to be really
Mm.
close. And not easy because what it requires is the awareness of the costumes and masks that we wear to navigate the world, to present ourselves and deal in the world, okay? To become aware enough so that we can remove them when we want to, and
Right.
to be able to remove them and be open hearted, transparent, vulnerable, powerful, sweet, decisive, all of that from taking off the masks, taking off the garments, and getting to our essential selves, which I believe contains all those qualities and many more that I just mentioned.
Right.
So again, closeness and freedom. And then how it plays out is going to exhibit a great deal of variation. You see, how it plays out, the woman, can be running the country, and the man can be in his garden arranging flowers. But if
Right.
they have those two qualities, closeness, real closeness, and freedom,
Yeah.
then they got the gold.
Mm.
Then they got what we're all looking for without knowing it,
So would that be
without
considered?
knowing.
I know, I love that. So I love the having the personal freedom and the closeness. So would that come into play where the role awareness to self-awareness has just been established? Did that make sense? Because now you have the personal freedom, you have the closeness. Let's say the roles are, he stays home or she's working or vice versa. Is the role
Or both.
awareness,
Yeah.
is that, yeah, go ahead. Is that
No,
established now, the role awareness?
it's not something that's established as a static state. It's not
Okay.
something that we can say, yep, I'm there, I've arrived, I'm self-aware. Uh, yeah, no, that isn't how it
It's a
works.
little longer than that,
It's a
right?
process. It's a
Yeah.
process of engaging, and a relationship is the greatest venue for that process.
I
There's none better than to be with a partner when you're both engaged in that journey, in that adventure of manifesting your wholeness together.
mm.
Okay? And, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me what questions that brings up for you.
Yeah, going back to the personal freedom, uh, in some relationships, I felt I had it, and in some relationships, I didn't. I felt like I was being closely watched or guarded or something because I
Monitored.
yeah, yes, definitely. And, and I felt that, I had to walk on eggshells.
Mm.
because if I said
Not a
certain
good
thing,
feeling, is it?
yeah, definitely not a good feeling, because I'm one of those guys. I like to laugh. I like to have a good time, but mostly I like to laugh. I like to have just have a conversation where we're both laughing. And I found her, and this is like 4 or 5 years ago, just so serious, uh, not affectionate. It was hard to deal with a woman like that. I mean, eventually I laughed and we parted ways, but I to me, the roles there was no personal freedom. There was definitely no closeness. Like I said, I think I wanted it to happen because I did feel for this woman. I really liked her, but I didn't. It wasn't reciprocated. So I just forced myself to just say, you know what, this ain't working. Let me become self-aware that this is not working. And it took a while, Doctor Don, because I had to leave. I just felt that I just couldn't say anything. If I touched her, she wasn't like affectionate. So again, it took a while, but then, like I said, I just sat down one day and I'm like, wow, you know what? This is what's happening. It's not working. Let me go. And that was my self-awareness because that role that I was in did not feel comfortable. Did I make
Mhm.
sense at all, Doc?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, if you don't have closeness and you don't have freedom, you know, it might be a good idea to explore within yourself why it took you so long to leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely made sense.
And we're talking with Dr. Don St. John. Today's topic is a good one: role awareness to self awareness. So, Doc, going forward, right? When it comes to relationships, and you meet someone, are we sometimes jump the gun too much or too fast without getting to know each other? Should we become friends first? But most men are afraid to be put into that friend zone where they're not going to have any type of chance to have a real relationship, a physical relationship. They're going to be put at an arm's distance, and no, you're like my brother. So I feel that if you do end up friends or start off as friends, it might just continue to be friends. And that's what I'm saying. Should we state our intentions at the beginning? This is what I want from you. This is how I like you. Can you explain more of that? Because it
Yeah, I
seems it's
can.
different. It seems difficult now.
Again, it is more difficult now because those old rules, they're
It's
not.
gone, right?
Yeah, right. So I think, first of all, answer your initial question. Yeah, absolutely. People go too fast.
Yeah.
And, uh, you know, kind of ironic my saying this, but I advise people to not jump into bed with someone if what they're looking for is a long-term relationship.
Mm,
Get to know who the person is and get a sense of where this is going before you jump into bed.
mm,
Why? Because first of all, it's one of the most vulnerable experiences you can have. You're taking off all your clothes, you're getting into a pretty intense, primitive space, but
yeah.
you don't know who you're doing it with. You have
Mm,
no idea within a month or 2 months,
yeah.
even 3 months, who that person is. Take some time. Now, if what you're looking for, if what you want is a great weekend of sex and fun, and you're not interested, in a long-term thing, enjoy it. I'm not coming across here with an anti-sex attitude.
Right.
What I am saying is the chances of
Mm,
that relationship working is increased if you know who you're getting emotionally entangled with. Because
right.
once we start making love with someone, it becomes much harder to extricate ourselves if after 3 or 4 months we realize, I don't really like this person.
Yeah.
I don't like how they treat the help. I don't like how they handle money. I don't like the addiction that I didn't know they had until. so many things. It takes time to know someone,
Yeah.
you know?
Unfortunately, sometimes when you do wait, and like I said, 3 months, whatever, sometimes you get to see that real person. Like you said, they might treat the help terrible, or they might just come off as arrogant or whatever. And then you're like,
Yeah.
you hate to say that you wasted 3 months, but at least you got that answer that you were looking for, whether
Ex-
this person is someone I want to be with, or let me run for the hills. First of all,
exactly.
Dr. St. John, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I really appreciate it. Talk more about your book, right? It's called Healing the Wounds of Childhood and Culture. Is that the,
Yeah,
uh,
I'll show
yeah,
it to you right
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Healing the Wounds of Childhood and Culture, subtitled An Adventure of a Lifetime.
yeah,
And I really mean it. Uh, you know, it, it's it's an adventure. It's filled with amazing surprises and challenges and
yeah.
hard times and great times. And I'm in my 80s, Will.
Oh,
Mm,
wow. I would never guess that. I never
okay.
guess that.
And my wife and I, she's a couple months older than I am, and we teach fluid movement,
Okay,
continuum fluid movement to young people, young,
okay.
40, 50, 60, like that.
Oh, so I'm considered young at 61. Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Doc.
Yeah, absolutely.
And talk more about your website and what can people find there.
Yeah, good question, because my website is not about promoting our businesses. We're semi-retired and we don't need further promotion. So
Doc, you got 20 good years left in you. What you talking about?
oh, we'll see. That's above my pay grade to know that. Uh, but we designed the website to be a source of information
Okay.
about the resources, disciplines, books, things like that are out there in the world that would support people. So go to my website, and it's www.pathsofconnection.com.
Yeah, I'll definitely
Path-
put that on the show notes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anything else you want to promote or anything else you want to talk about?
Um, yeah, just one more topic if we have time.
Sure,
We have
sure. Go
time
ahead.
for, okay. Okay. S- So frequently, men and women in their 40s or 50s who are looking at or are single or becoming single dread the thought of dating.
Mm,
It's like it's, you know,
very
and
true.
and I'd like to offer a different frame. Dating can be fun. It's simply about meeting people, getting to know them. Leave your checklists at home. Just engage the human being who's sitting in front of you, hear their stories, be sincere, practice listening. It's a great opportunity to practice being sincere, straight, kind, but not trying to create an image or a picture of yourself, just being there.
Yeah.
And if you can get to that point, dating's a whole lot of fun.
Well, people got to
Okay.
wake up to that. No, that sounds good because it's true. If you are in a good place, dating could be fun. But I think if you go out there with certain expectations, and that's how I just pretty much try to eliminate any expectations. I just try to go out there, have a good time. If it works, great. If not, okay, then I have to move on to the next. Uh, and
Yeah.
Doc, one more thing. Where can people find you? Do you want to definitely uh
My
put them
website.
towards the
Yeah.
website? Yeah, which is
Yeah.
pathsofconnection.com. Again, I'll put that on the show notes,
And
plus your social media contact also on the show notes.
okay. And just for those people who don't look at the show notes, I'll spell it Pats, PassiveConnection.com.
No, definitely. I'll put that on again on the show notes. Well, Dr. St. John, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Will. It's fun to be talking to you here.
Yeah, me too. Bye bye.